Hi, everyone. Is it on?
It should be.
Testing. Whoa, there it is. Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm Darren Navarro. I want to thank my good friend Josh Ethier for introing the show and talking about Ace Presents. At the top, I wasn't able to make it quite on time. I would like you all now to erase your memories of what happened before, so I'm going to give Josh a proper introduction. Originally from Rhode Island, Josh Ethier is a Los Angeles-based film editor known for his dynamic contributions to the horror, thriller, and action genres. His work has premiered at the Toronto International Film Festival, Sundance, South by Southwest, Tribeca, Fantastic Fest, Beyond Fest, and more. Ethier is best known for his frequent collaborations with director Joe Vigas, with whom he serves as both editor and producing partner at their production company, Channel 83. Their acclaimed films include Bliss, VFW, and Christmas, Bloody Christmas. Up next from the duo is Jimmy and Stiggs, an insane genre feature, set to be released by Eli Roth's newly formed company, The Horror Section. Beyond his collaborations with Vigas, Ethier's filmography includes last year's Companion, a very good movie, I urge you to see it, for New Line and Warner Brothers, the Netflix original film Don't Move, Gretel and Hansel for Orion and MGM, and Mayhem, an action horror comedy starring Steven Yeun and Samara Weaving. With a career defined by bold storytelling and razor-sharp cutting, Ethier continues to be one of the most respected and sought-after editors in independent genre cinema. Please welcome again Josh Ethier.
I didn't shorten that. But we're all here to obviously pay tribute to somebody else, so I hope you forgive me. I don't want to make sure I don't miss anything on this because this is incredible. We're here tonight to celebrate Frank Urioste. Let's get a round of applause for him. Began his career in the motion picture industry in 1957. Early on, he worked with legendary composer Henry Mancini at MGM as a music editor on the television series Peter Gunn and Mr. Lucky. From 1959 to 67, Frank served as a staff editor at MGM, contributing to numerous major feature films, including The Dirty Dozen, Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, and Mutiny on the Bounty. His career was briefly interrupted when he was drafted into the United States Army, where he served from 60 to 62 before returning to MGM. In 1968, Frank transitioned to independent work, and over the next 3 decades, edited an extraordinary range of feature films. His extensive credits include Midway, The Jazz Singer, The Hitcher, Hoosiers, RoboCop, Die Hard, Total Recall, Basic Instinct, Cliffhanger, Tombstone, and Lethal Weapon 4. An incredible run of films, probably ready to the top. In early 1998, Frank joined Warner Brothers as senior VP in the feature development department, and in this role he collaborated closely with editors and directors, helping shape numerous films produced by Warner's and its affiliated independent companies. Throughout his career, Frank has been an active member of the American Cinema Editors and served on the Board of Governors of the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences. In recognition of his incredible career and lasting contributions to the art of film editing, he was awarded the Ace Career Achievement Award in 2007. Ladies and gentlemen, a huge round of applause for Frank J. Urioste.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
You got your mic right.
Okay.
Hello. So before the film, you said that you hadn't seen the movie in probably 25 years. What was it like to watch it with this audience tonight?
I enjoyed it better than I did 28 years ago. actually forgot the opening, and, it's just, I enjoyed it though. I probably would have made some stuff a little shorter now, but you learn, that was how you learn on every film. And then, when you work with guys like Paul Verhoeven, well, it's not a matter of, you don't have to look for good stuff, it's either good or great. So all I did was put the story together.
Absolutely.
And I have to tell you this because I like it known that there was about 7 of us that were film editors, cut the film, that were working on the big films in the late 70s and through my whole career. And I was taught at MGM, like he said, I was staff. But they actually sent me to like film school. I learned every aspect of making a film, from being on the set, being a credit, carrying 2,000-foot reels, everything you could imagine, sound, music, and it really helped my career. What I was taught, and it cost me a few jobs, was that when I did a film, I wouldn't allow anybody in the editing room while I edited a film. Directors weren't allowed. And we would run dailies, of course. But like Paul Verhoeven and I remember our first film, and I have to thank Tina Herb, because she turned it down. And I wanted to work with Paul, I didn't care what he did. And so we did RoboCop, and then of course, well, with our career.
Which you were nominated for an Academy Award for.
Yeah.
Your first Ford nomination.
And that was a surprise. And Paul is so great. Paul is, when you work with great directors, even John McTiernan. John shot a lot of film, but he was a good guy. They all loved him. And that was just my way. What you saw on this film, the Total Recall, is what came off my bench, except for what I had to do for the MPAA.
Which looks like it was probably a lot.
It was a lot.
There's a lot of people reacting to the Paul Verhoeven squibs in the audience.
But I have a good story. I was having dinner with Paul and my wife, and Paul Verhoeven and his wife. I can't remember her name right now, but anyway, we're in this little restaurant right down from Fox on Pico, and who walks in but Arnold and Maria. And I had never met Maria, and he interviewed me, and I said, I'd like to introduce you to Paul Verhoeven. Oh my God, he said, and Arnold actually grabbed my chair. I'm still in it. He picks me up, moves me over, and he sits down next to Paul, and they started talking about this movie. And that's when Paul and Arnold first met. It was a coincidence. But I went from high school, right here, still working, to driving a truck to get into the union. And that was really fun because you couldn't get a job unless you remember the union. You couldn't you had to work 30 days in the union in order to get a job. So, I mean, I don't know how it works, but I got it.
Thankfully, you made it in there. So because you had worked with Verhoeven before, was this something that he sent you and he said, Frank, I have to have you on this, like obviously because you were nominated for RoboCop?
What happened was I did RoboCop, and then right away, luckily, did Die Hard. And I was kind of worn out, and I was asked by McTiernan to do on to Red October at the same time that Paul was going to do this. I owed karma, I owed Paul, because RoboCop was both of us. He just said, Do you think anybody will ever go see a movie about a robot? I don't know. But, so that's why I did this, and then, of course, I did, Basic after that.
Yeah, you've contributed so much to Sharon Stone's legend with Total Recall and Basic Instinct.
I knew Sharon when she was probably 18. When I was doing Die Hard, I believe she was, Joel Silver's girlfriend at that time. She was in, I think, her first film with Action Jackson or something like that. And, yeah, and she's a terrific actor.
She's saying, well, when you're cutting her, yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, when I'm watching this, I enjoyed what I saw, and I haven't seen it in a long time. Went by pretty fast, so.
Yeah, no, it's paced beautifully. One thing that sets this movie apart from so many others to me is that before this, Arnold was playing a lot of like superhuman characters. His characters were always so extraordinary. But in this movie, and this totally applies to your work as an editor because performance is your craft. How was it when Arnold had to become a totally normal guy who gets thrust into that?
I have a good story for that. I was in Mexico City where we shot it. And at that time, the Academy Awards were on, but I was down here in Mexico. And Walter Mirisch, who was a very good friend and a wonderful man, great producer, called, was going to be given the Irving Thalberg Award at the Academy. So I called him to congratulate him, and I asked, well, is there any award that you haven't won? And he said, well, I won the Nobel Peace Prize. So he said, how's the things going down there? And I said, well, I'm going to tell you something, and you probably won't believe me, but Arnold Schwarzenegger is really giving us a good performance. And he goes, Frank, I think you've been in Mexico today. That's true story.
In addition to Arnold with that incredible transformation to an everyman, just construction worker, the thing that really sticks out about the movie now, 36 years later, especially now with everything being so AI, wondering like what's real, what's fake when we just like open our phones every day. The miniature effects in this movie have really stood the test of time. The one that knocks me out is when they arrive at Mars and they're riding on the train and suddenly realize it's a composite shot of Arnold standing with a man. It pulls out into a miniature, it wipes the mountain and becomes another miniature, and then you can see that it's a matte painting with the city of Mars behind it. So what was it like to build that stuff? Because I saw ILM was up there.
That was all Eric Webbing. Eric was our visual effects, and he was fantastic. I mean, he was trying to please us all the time. He was out in, his office way out in Simi Valley somewhere. All
Well, that's where all the
night,
effects
take turns driving from where we were doing, Corrupto on 8800 Sunset to Simi Valley, all over the Cape, to go see where his progress and put it in, give him any input. But he was fantastic, and he's a great guy, and he's really did great things for the visual effects people. One thing, one note that Paul used to give me notes. He would sit with an assistant and write some notes, and he'd say, if you address 50% of these, I'll really be happy. And of course I wouldn't do it. It isn't that I wouldn't do what they say, it's just that sometimes I didn't think they were right. So.
Yeah, looking for the note behind the note, yeah.
But he said, we gotta get this, when we come to the end of this movie, we gotta get to the end really fast. Because we don't want the audience to be able to think what they just saw. Get past those volcanoes or whatever they were. Air. Anyway, no, it was a fun movie to do. Paul and I both got sick this time in Mexico. But, other than that, it was pretty fun. I mean, I just cut every day and he shot every day. He did get mad at me once. I mean, really mad. And I was in the editing room and I had sent a message to this, usually if I go to the set, I should have done this, I should have gone all the time. But they usually, when I went to the set, they knew something was wrong. I went to the set, and at the opening scene, where you see Sharon and Paul having breakfast, and I can't remember which one it was, but he missed one shot. And he knew it, but it pissed him off, that I asked him for it. So he comes flying into the cutting room that night. Let me see. So I show him, and I tell him, I think I need a reverse or whatever it was. I can't remember what the shot was. And he just looked at me and stormed out of the room. Next day, I see on the schedule, we're gonna do an ad. And it worked out fine, that we were pals. We go to dinner and we doing blocking out on a napkin, and next day he'd shoot. He was just a regular good guy. Everybody thinks he's a maniac, but he can get scary at times. See when I should go on and when I should. But you can see his touch in this movie. And I gotta say, the movies that came along, like, Die Hard and Total Recall, all those, for old movies. I did other movies, and my assistants were fabulous. They saved my butt so many times. This lady right here, on a movie called Deep Blue Sea. It was kind of a political thing where Warner was gonna take the film over. And a lot of the data you couldn't find. My friend over here, she dug and dug, and she just came up and found all the stuff and helped me out. But all my assistants, on this, even this one here, I would put the film together, but give it to them and say, put some sound and stuff with it, because you can't show it to the new generation of producers and directors. Like we did in the 50s and the 60s. What they saw when you ran a movie was just the movie, the film, and the production sound, and they made the choices from that. But now you have to do everything. Sheridan Sotelo is the lady.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of there's one question I wanted to ask you. There was a long-standing rumor that Sam Jackson, being in the middle of a speech and then suddenly swallowed by a shark, was an editor's idea.
I got that reputation taking over films like Tombstone was unreleasable. Luckily, I was able to make something out of it. 2 hours and 45 minutes when I saw him. But my daughter worked with me, who was sitting here. She worked in sound and dialogue. And her father was an ACE member, Jack Wheeler. I don't know if you remember the name or not, but he was a film editor. And it's been a wonderful career. I'm really overwhelmed by this because I get embarrassed. I don't like to kid like front. I tried once to I was called down to the set by a great director by the name of Robert Aldrich.
Yeah.
And he was directing, I can't remember the name of the movie. Might have been, Killing His Sister George. And they had a part for a film editor. He called me. Well, I couldn't stop looking at the camera. I tried to do something, he said, try to whistle. And I lasted about 3 hours and he fired me. Go back to stuff.
Back into the room by yourself.
But, I also got I like how on all my wife was, and I have been married for 62 years. I met her at Metro Goldwyn Mayer in 1961 or 62. And went through long after I was married. I had come out of the army. But she was great and supportive. And had she not worked at Metro, we would probably never would have allowed it because
She understood, yeah.
were, you know, sometimes I wouldn't even come home at night. This is the way it was. And how I ever got to be a senior VP at Warner, I'll never know.
That was also the year that you cut Lethal Weapon 4, which,
Yeah.
for my money, is some of the biggest action that we put on screen. Right, but the year before The Matrix, when everything went digital, you guys actually drove the car through the Sherman Oaks Galleria and back onto the 101.
I remember that. Dick Donner was a great director too, and we just couldn't, thank God, I was doing these other films that turned out to be great, and I was offered to do Braveheart, but because of my relationship with Mario Kassar and Andy Vanya, who were the head of Corocco, I was with Corocco for probably 12 years, and they always treated me great. I owed them, they wanted me to go to Rome, to Cortina, to do Cliffhanger, because Rennie, I know this is going on film, but Rennie, you know you shoot a lot of film. And I just went because they asked me to be there.
I remember on the commentary for Cliffhanger that you did, where you talked about some days you would work and the only thing that you would do was watch film. You wouldn't even get to cut because you were shooting so many feet of film every day.
That one, and when I did The Jazz Singer, Neil was a wonderful guy, and is a wonderful guy, just that he's not well right now. But Neil was so paranoid about matching that on every shot was 5 cameras. So every day I did 30, 40, 6,000. And these poor assistants would put it together. And I'd be looking at it once, see if anything's wrong, then I have to run it again with the crew. Well, that one, I always remember that Barry Spikey, who's the head of EMI at that time, came to me once and said, we want to make this a Christmas release. And I said, what year? But I got a million stories that I enjoy my time.
Think of how many more movies you could have cut if you could have just ganged them all and watched all the cameras at once.
No, I mean, it was, it was still on movie overhead. We had cams, but no, you know, they had to actually sync everything up. So that was quite an experience.
A lot of film to watch. Well, let's throw it out to the audience just because having Frank here, obviously, this is such a joy and a pleasure. If anybody has any questions for Frank, throw a hand up. Happy to take some questions right there in front. Yeah.
I'm bring my to you.
Hi, I'm wondering, all these great films you've cut, and going through the action, was there any specific methodology that you remember applying to all of these when it comes to cutting action that you felt helped the rhythm and the pacing and the geography of the action works so well as it does in all these great films?
Well, that's something I can't answer. Because you asked me the same question that the president of Warner Brothers did once. I called me in the office and asked me straight out, how do you know when to cut? And I said, I can't answer that because I don't know. I just have a feeling or whatever. It's like you would do a painting, maybe your sky would be a few clouds, maybe light blue, and mine would be darker or something. It's a matter of just, it was a feeling with me. I mean, I can remember doing probably the hardest film that I ever worked on with Basic Instinct, and I was working on it in San Francisco while I was shooting, and then when we came back home, I would look at some of the stuff I did, and in a relaxed mood, sit down and look at it, and it was terrible. There was no time. It was just hacked, you know, cut, you know, and so I just tore it all apart and started over again, and then I got in this rhythm, and Jerry Goldsmith, John Williams, Lalo Schiffer, and all these guys, they were all at MGM when I was a kid and they were kids, and I got to know them all, and I love music, and I finished a day working almost 100 days to listen to them record something, whatever they're doing. But Jerry used to say that my musical background helped me with tempo. And it's just something I can't explain.
I wish we could bottle and sell it just because of your filmography. You basically invented how we think about action films in the 80s and the 90s.
Yeah,
With like RoboCop, Total Recall, Die Hard, The Hitcher, Tombstone. There's so many, The Roadhouse. There's so many great films that you did that establish how modern cutters are cutting action.
Joe Silver said to me, and excuse my English, I'm going to say, but what he said, I finished with Roadhouse and went out, and he said, boy, we made this piece of shit work.
Still works 20 years later.
Action is, for me, in my head, I think action, you can get away with murder with cuts and stuff, so it's not, cutting dialogue like in the Basic was torture. But, once I got the first thing right, everything else is, cause I didn't have to look for a performance. When Paul got, was either like I did good or great. And Mike Douglas is one of the finest actors that I've ever worked with. He was amazing. The verses and fronts.
Not to mention too, Jan Bond shooting it, so
Jan
great
is a
walking,
good
great
friend.
photography.
Jan and Jos Pagano were the two DPs that I worked with, seemed like all the time. And Jan de Bond was his Jos was great. They were just really, it makes a difference, having all these great guys, and the music, just like when we were looking for a theme for Basic Instinct, we just couldn't get it. We go to Paul over John's house, Jerry's house, and listen, he just couldn't find one day the theme came on, and he said, that's it, you nailed it. So I remember this one. I got 3 times for Academy Award, but never won, which is terrible. I don't know what they say about being nominated, you want to win. So I was at the awards, and I knew some of the musicians in New York, especially a guy named, Emil Richards is what he went by. His name was Emil Vidiots. He wrote he's the guy that wrote the theme for, Flintstones.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Anyway, I went down to see it, and he said hello to some of the guys, and they said, "You're winning tonight." I said, "What do you mean?" He said, the only song we rehearsed for your category was Basic. I said, "Don't do that to me." Of course. Oh. I had a great career. I couldn't imagine. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun.
How great to be nominated too for the movie that you said you had to tear apart because you were like, this is just hacked together. This doesn't make any sense. And then you get a Academy Award nomination for it.
Oh, you mean, Basic?
Yeah.
Paul, we have a time for that one. I mean, MPA, everything I did was Paul, MPA. When I ran with my assistants, I first cut a RoboCop, and we're sitting there watching. It was about an hour and 50 minutes, maybe 55. And the lights come up, and I look at them, and I look at everybody, and that's great. The guy, the projection, opens up the board and yells down, "It's an X for sure." It was.
How many times did you guys have to go back on RoboCop? Because that X-rated cut is finally seen the light of day.
That film, I believe, caused the NBA to change their rule. Because I know we went at least 10 times on RoboCop. But we had to do a lot of stuff because there was some stuff we really wanted to keep, so we had to give up on. There was, at the opening of the movie, when you shoot him in the head, we had this great shot that you're right on his face and it is him. And the way they did this visual effects thing, camera does no cut, it goes back of the head, and you blow his head off. Well, it was we spent like $40,000. We're talking 1985 on one shot, you know, and then they wouldn't let us use it. I don't think it ever had to put it in. But, yeah, that might be the problem with the NBA.
And that one too, that was your first nomination. Was RoboCop.
Yeah. I think that's the only film I ever did that technically is perfect. I mean,
I think we can all agree that.
You know, like, I watch this and I see some mistakes, but nobody else will see them. Somebody else sees them. Then you open the door twice, I'm like, it's been fun, and I love sitting in an audience like this. I remember going to New York for a press junket on Die Hard, and we did it in Times Square, and the place was packed. Nobody had any idea the humor in the movie. They were yelling, standing up, screaming at the movie during the writing. Don't go in there, don't go in there, you know. It was really fun. They were involved. It was fun to sit with an audience like this and who get a lot of the stuff, you know. And Arnold, he's on. He's good in all this stuff. He's the smartest guy, probably one of the smartest men I've ever met. He is brilliant. He's not that dumb with it. Always thought that he was really a smart man. And a great guy. I like him very much.
Well, he owes you for this. This is definitely one of his greatest performances. Like a lot of us that grew up in the late '90s, early 2000s remember the Arnold Schwarzenegger sound machine, where people would like prank call, and almost every single line of it was from Total Recall. And I used to Me Too, like all those. It's a very, very, very quotable film, and the comedy still works like so incredibly, as well as the action and violence.
There's one word I used to tease on it about, which was, you couldn't say ridiculous. So, when in that scene, every time I see it, I can remember, I don't know if we used him or somebody else, but we got, and he used to get mad at me. He used to say ridiculous. So we get ridiculous out. That was, he was, you know, this film actually was written for Richard Wright.
Oh my God.
A real stinger called the Red Soldier. And I was there to do Total Recall. And the Total Recall was going to be the second. We were going to be there 2 years. And it was written originally for Richard Wright to be in that part. And then when Arnold took it, they rewrote it all. Once she said, I just don't know. He came up with all this stuff. You know, let me see. But everybody, you know, it's, when you work with good people, and they always make you look good, you know. It's like, I had no idea at the end of Die Hard that they were gonna put Let It Snow in. It was on my did it as a joke. I was running the movie for the studio, and I hadn't finished the last reel. And I just finished it while they were still started the first reel. And so when I got into the projection room, my assistants were still putting some sound and music to the last reel. When it came up, I had no idea what I was going to hear. And that song came on, the executive all stood up and yelled and screamed, and it's a hit and all that. And that's the first film I had to do with creative executives. And they all said it was too slow. And I kept arguing that if we don't know these people, then it isn't gonna work. So I had a full minute that still should come out of that movie. That the studio wouldn't let me take it out because they previewed it somewhere up near San Francisco, a little town, you know. And they got like top two boxes, 99. So I got the word, you can't touch the frame of the movie.
And that was your second Academy Award nomination.
Yeah.
Incredible run.
In fact, Larry Gordon just said to me, the first day I met Larry Gordon is the producer, one of the producers, or really the guy, the big guy. Can you do the same thing for this movie you did the last one? I said, I hope so, you know. But it worked out. It was, it's the first one that had that humor in with all the act violence stuff. But Paul did that. You can see Paul stuff. You know, in the first cut of RoboCop was just brutal. Not even for me. That opening scene was amazing. But he put humor. It's like when you see that movie, there's a line right at the very beginning, and we were at a preview, and the audience laughed so hard that we couldn't take it out. It was an extra, just yelling a line to get some dough. And he said, call a paramedic. After this guy gets blown. Call a paramedic. The audience went crazy. Still in. Still there.
Well, everybody, give a nice big roll round of applause.